Hi, welcome back. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the PyCharm IDE. Now PyCharm will work the same in all operating systems. Therefore it doesn't matter if you are on a Mac, Windows or Linux. The instructions of this video will be valid for all operating systems. So when you open PyCharm for the first time, this window should show up with these buttons in here. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create a project. PyCharm is based on projects. So when you create a program, an application, a Python application, you create a project for that application, and in that PyCharm project, you put all the files for your application, which could be, of course, .py files, but also other associated files, such as txt files, Excel files, maybe HTML files if you are making a web app, and every other file that is related to your application. So let's create a project by pressing this button. And this is a project configuration window. So let's see the sections of this window one by one. The first one is location. By default, you'll see this directory path, but if you want to change it, you can go over to this icon and then pick a folder where you want to save your project. For example, if I pick this folder and press OK, and then I can add a backslash if you are on Windows or a slash if you are on Mac or Linux. So a backslash if you are on Windows, and then pick a name for the project folder. For example, first_project. It's good to avoid having any spaces in your directory path. So I don't have any space in any of these names, because if you have spaces, you may run into problems with PyCharm. So please avoid having spaces in the directory path. So now PyCharm will create a project in this directory, and all the files that we are going to create are going to be set to be placed in this directory. And then we have the other section about the Python interpreter. So this section here is about selecting a Python interpreter for PyCharm, because PyCharm is an IDE and PyCharm needs an interpreter to be able to run Python code. So if you select this option here and then find the Python that we installed in here, then PyCharm will use that Python that we installed. But this option is better. What this does is it creates a virtual Python on top of the Python that we installed. So for every project you create a virtual Python installation. This is good because when you install third-party packages for Python, you install those packages only for that particular virtual Python, not for the global Python installation that we installed in the previous videos. This has the advantage of keeping the packages installed only for particular projects, so that you don't get polluted with too many packages installed in the global Python installation. So this is the best option, new environment using virtualenv. Virtualenv is a tool to create this Python virtual environments. You can leave these options as they are, and then we have this last section here. If you want PyCharm to create a main.py file, you can leave that option selected. I'm just going to leave it as it is, selected. And then press on create to create the project, and you should wait a while until PyCharm configures the new project. Sometimes you have some tips in here. You can go over to next tip, so some PyCharm tips how to use PyCharm, or close the window. And this is a project. And this is the main.py file that PyCharm created for us. We can close that file, and to create a new file, you can right click over this folder here and go to new and go to Python file. Then pick a name such as hello. You don't have to write a py extension because PyCharm will add it automatically. So doing hello is enough, and you'll see that PyCharm adds the .py extension there. And then write some code here. And then right click and go over to run hello. And you will see the output in here. Now you can see that the output is in this tab. And there are several tabs in here. There's also a terminal tab. where you can interact with your operating system, and there's also a Python console tab. Here you can write Python code, since this is an interactive Python shell. Execute to get the output. So the two most important tabs are the Run tab, where you see the output. So the Run tab always shows when you run the code. And you also have this Python console tab. So these two. If you want to change some settings of PyCharm, you can go over to File and go to Settings. So under Appearance, you can change the theme and maybe select Intel Light if you prefer a light theme. You can always change the Python interpreter by going again to Settings and going to Project, Python interpreter, and over here you'll see different interpreters. If you go to Show All, PyCharm will show you all the interpreters and you can select one of them. You can install Python packages on PyCharm using this plus icon here. So click that and search for example, Volume. Select on Volume and go to Install Package. And you get this message that Volume was installed successfully. You can close that window and that as well. Then you can import Volume. And you see that PyCharm also suggests the code. For example, in here, I started to type in vol and PyCharm suggests me to autocomplete this by using tab or enter, and it will write in Volume. Now PyCharm also has some problem highlighting capabilities. For example, if you say print X, you'll see that X is underlined in red. And if you hover your mouse there, if you click there, you'll see this lamp showing up. And if you click on that arrow, PyCharm will suggest you a few actions. So the problem here is that X is not defined as a variable in this code. So the program has a problem and PyCharm suggests you how to solve that problem. So maybe you want to import that name or create a function X. So it's trying to suggest you something that fixes this error, because if we run this code, run, you'll get that X is not defined. If we define X equal to 1, the problem, the highlighting disappears. You also have this kind of less urgent highlights. For example, import Volume. This is highlighted and it has this orange lamp because it's not a big issue. The issue here is that Volume has been imported but it has not been used. If I use the Volume name, for example, volume.map, the problem goes away. Now you probably noticed that it's not necessary to save the file before you execute it. So I can add something here, for example, change that to 2 and I don't need to save the file, I can just go ahead and execute it. And I'll get 2 in here. So PyCharm saves the file and executes it. Here on the left we have some tabs. This is a project tab where you see the project directory tree with your files, and you see this venv folder which contains the Python, the virtual environment for Python. You can just leave that folder there, don't change it, don't delete it, just leave it there. We have this section in here. Now this button does the same thing as this button, but the difference here is that if you open another file, for example main.py, and you want to execute main.py, and you go over to this button, you press that, what will happen is that PyCharm will execute the hello.py file, because hello was selected in here. So if you want to use this button, you have to be careful what you have selected in here. So you want to go to main, and then press that button to execute main. So this script. Therefore, it's maybe better to just right-click and go to that option to run your scripts, because that option always updates to the current file you are in. So now you are in hello, you run hello. Now you are in main.py, you run main. And so you don't get confused. Now if you close this project, press exit, and then you want to open PyCharm again, PyCharm will open that last project that you were working in, so the first project that we were just working in. If you want to create a new project, you want to go to File and go to New Project. And you should see the same project configuration window. So again, pick a folder, add a slash or backslash. So create another project, press on Create, and PyCharm should ask you if you want to close the existing project. So if you want to close that existing project, you should press on this window. So opening the same window by closing the existing project. If you want a new window, you can press on New Window. If you want PyCharm to put that folder inside the same project in here, then you can go to Add Touch. Most commonly what you want to do is you want to go to New Window, and so now we have two projects open in two separate windows, two separate PyCharm windows. And that ends this video on how to use PyCharm. So that is enough to get you started, but there will be tricks and other advanced uses of PyCharm as we progress with the apps in the course. Thanks for following, and I'll talk to you in the next videos. See you.